Well, as Friday's deadline for a new trade deal with the U.S. looms large, home builders are navigating higher material costs and uncertain supply chains at a time when the country tries to scale up housing and improve housing affordability. Gregor Robertson is Canada's Minister of Housing and Infrastructure. He joins me live now in studio. Minister, it's a pleasure to have you and welcome you to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I want to start on the issue of sixplexes here in the city of Toronto, because you recently wrote to Mayor Olivia Chow saying that you're disappointed that City Council voted against allowing sixplex developments citywide. That was, of course, a key condition of its deal with the federal government under the Housing Accelerator Fund.
Right.
So you've given the city now 6 months to revisit its commitments under that deal.
Well, 6 months is when the next checkpoint is, basically. Yeah.
So let me ask you, can you be clear, will Toronto lose some funding if in 6 months it has anything less than a citywide policy allowing sixplexes?
Well, so the important context here is Toronto brought forward 35 commitments in their Housing Accelerator package. So they've already gotten a first payment. Toronto's already done a number of the actions, actually making good progress across the board. And this was one of those 35 actions around sixplexes. I think there's still 6 months until we do the final review, and the next chunk of funding will come through. It's just a matter of how much comes through based on the progress that's being made. The overall commitment for Toronto is 61,000 more homes than would have been built under the previous program. So it's really scaling up. Sixplexes are part of that. I think the real question here is what will Toronto City Council and Mayor do around educating and basically, I think there's a lot of misinformation about sixplexes. They're pretty gentle density in neighborhoods, and that's hopefully something that Mayor and Council can work through with the wards and the people in Toronto to enable that to happen, because we want Toronto to live up to their commitment. It's the integrity of the agreement that's most important.
So let me rephrase here then. When January comes and the next phase of funding is due, what will the consequences be for Toronto if it has anything less than a citywide policy allowing sixplex developments?
Well, at this point, I'm assuming that Toronto will live up to the commitment. And there's 240 other cities that have signed these commitments across Canada. We want to make sure Toronto, as the biggest city in the country, is stepping up and delivering on what they promised, what they brought forward as their housing commitments. So, we'll review it in 6 months, but at this point, I'm holding a firm line with all of 241 communities across Canada that have made these commitments, and the federal government is helping fund the change. And really, this is about delivering housing for Canadians. That's the overall point here, is to get more affordable housing built in cities across Canada.
Here in Ontario, Premier Doug Ford has indicated that at the provincial level, he would match a revised rebate if the federal government took a look at its existing GST rebate and extended it to cover all new housing rather than just first-time home buyers. Is this something your government would consider?
Well, at this point, we're looking at many different options for scaling up housing and getting the market going. Vancouver and Toronto are stalled right now with condos. But there's lots of rental housing being built. And we're looking at incentives, we're looking at opportunities to build more housing off-site in factories to speed up the process. We want the cities to cut red tape and speed up approvals of housing. And really, as a federal government, we're going to invest and drive the pace of housing construction. We want to double the pace of housing in the country over this next decade. So millions of new homes that otherwise wouldn't be built, we've got to get them built. That's what Canadians are expecting now to deal with the housing crisis.
I mean, that's a tall task, given that the times we're in. What steps can you take immediately, though, to increase housing supply now, rather than, initiatives that your government has announced that will take years to see any movement? Yeah,
it's a good question. So, because housing does take years to build, generally speaking. And that's why we're investing in the off-site manufacturing of housing. that can speed us up. You can put housing together a lot faster if it's manufactured in a factory and then the pieces are put together on site. So that's a piece that will speed up. We're also basically looking at many projects across the country that are already approved. They're already ready to go. They just don't have the financing quite lined up. So we have a significant chunk of financing to accelerate those projects, get them going, get them built as soon as possible, and make sure that they're as affordable as possible.
Okay, Minister, I have to leave it there. I'm unfortunately out of time. Minister Gregor Robertson, appreciate you making time for the conversation this morning.
Glad to be here.